So, good evening and welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand. I am Jonathan Head, I'm on the board. I'm the BBC correspondent in Southeast Asia, and I'm very pleased to be revisiting the issue of Thailand's marijuana story. It's becoming an epic. The Foreign Correspondents Club has done most stages of it, and most of the time we've had some of the same speakers who've been tracking it. It's been quite an event. But before we get started, a couple of small points. Anybody who's not a member of our club, please consider joining. We need members, and you are joining a very exclusive group, a very diverse group as well. So think about it. It's not expensive, and it's well worth being a part of our community. A couple of things coming up that you may want to know about. If any of you have any interest in Indonesian politics, we have former Vice President and presidential candidate Anies Baswedan, who is coming for a very brief visit to Bangkok and will be speaking at the club at 11 o'clock this Friday, so in 2 days' time. He's going to be talking about ASEAN, but I'm sure he'll have other things to say as well. It's not often we get a politician of his caliber from Indonesia coming here, so take advantage if you have interest in that. We've got a few other events. We always have, I think any of you are interested in board games. We have a board games night on Tuesday. The Foreign Correspondents Club quiz night is the last Friday of the month. Always a lot of fun. There's also a documentary screening on the 4th of September covering the Cambodian environmental group Mother Nature, which has, a huge number of them have been charged now and imprisoned. It's a very powerful documentary, so it's well worth coming to. That's the 4th of September. But let's get going with tonight's event and the ups and downs of Thailand's marijuana policy. Most of you will remember there was the stunning change 3 years ago when marijuana was in effect completely legalized. There was quite a story behind that and how it happened, but it got tied up with Thailand's political calendar. It became the core policy of one of the major parties, Bumjai Thai, and the leader of that party, Anutin Charnvirakul, who's appeared twice at the club speaking about that, drove through the decriminalisation of marijuana to sort of hit the parliamentary timetable to show that he'd fulfilled his campaign promise. But what didn't happen was a regulatory framework to govern it. There are all sorts of reasons for that no doubt our guests will allude to tonight. And we've ended up with, certainly the most liberal marijuana regime probably anywhere in the world. An absolute explosion of small businesses, of marijuana shops, of people growing, and what some people view as a bit of a free-for-all. When Thai took the reins of government 2 years ago, they vowed to recriminalize marijuana, but they've not done that. But as of earlier this month, I think the 6th was the date, we do have a new raft of regulations which are intended to just to pull in some of the sort of excesses is the view. The idea is that marijuana, which was always said at the beginning, should be essentially medical, not recreational. It's hard to distinguish between them. And the new regulations, which involve prescriptions, medical training, proper regulation, proper enforcement of regulation, are meant to try and put the marijuana genie, if not back in the bottle, at least to make it largely medical and not completely casual the way it is now. But those regulations are also subject to criticism, and that's why we have the people on the panel tonight. On the far side, any of you who followed the marijuana story will know Kitty Chopaka, who's been a long-time campaigner for liberalisation, and somebody who has advocated a lot for the smaller growers, many of whom have made a business out of it since marijuana's legalisation. In the middle is Tom Kruesopon, who some would say is responsible for the entire liberalisation. He was quite influential in advising Anutin about the policy, but has now been helping the Ministry of Health to devise the new regulations that have now constrained the business more. And Kunchet here has come along. He's actually been involved as a consultant, helping the to the regulations for small businesses. He's actually involved in supporting small businesses and has explained to me that his role now is to help small businesses adjust to the new regulations so that those that are viable can manage the transition. We are in a new marijuana era, though it's perhaps not completely defined yet. Tom, if it's all right, I will start with you because you're so associated with this.
It should be beauty before the beast, though.
Nobody said you weren't beautiful. But I think...
By the way, this should be a very happy meeting. It's a marijuana meeting. So everybody should be relaxed and enjoying themselves.
Tom has just actually said to me that technically under the new rules, you can't even smoke on our balcony out there. So not that I've ever seen many people doing it, but I say our balcony, nobody ever looks there. It's essentially an unregulated space. And what goes on the balcony stays on the balcony. And we are 17 floors up.
Really? Is that it?
That's the custom.
I'm going to put a bed out there then.
Anyway, Tom, listen, I remember you as, in many ways, you seem to be the spokesman for a liberal regime. I very well remember your phrase, Amsterdam on steroids. You seemed to celebrate the openness that came with the new policy. Now you're helping to re-regulate it. Explain your role.
So, give everybody a little bit of background. 4 years ago, well, more than 4 years, the prior election to this, I was part of the Phum Jai Thai's policy on helping agriculture. One of the things we thought of was if we were to make cannabis legal, it would create a new cash crop for Thailand. That was sort of the original idea. On a personal basis, I had a friend who had cancer. And he was about to let go of life. So we took him to Las Vegas for his final fling, and in the Vegas foray, he was actually able to try cannabis for the first time, which was cannabis oil. And Kitty can probably explain that more than me. For some ungodly reason, it helped him. It helped him. What it helped, it didn't cure cancer. Cannabis doesn't cure cancer. What it does, it helps you take care of that cancer. So we saw what happened. As he took the cannabis oil, his appetite came back. And you die because you don't eat. So as he took cannabis, his appetite came back. And he was able to go through chemo again because it didn't make him dizzy. And lo and behold, he survived. And he still survived until today. So I came back and I said, this would be a great thing, right, for Thailand. If we could legalize cannabis for both the agricultural industry and also for medical purposes. And lo and behold, at that time, Kun Anutin was running for elections, and Phum Jai Thai took that as one of the main policies. And we actually had Kun Anutin here to announce those policies here. The original policy was we would allow each household to grow 6 cannabis plants to be able to grow for their medical purposes. The original idea was always that you should use it for medical purposes. But then I remember a meeting that I attended, and this is what happens. When you allow people who don't know what the hell they're talking about be responsible for policies of this large, it goes astray very quickly. And I don't blame the people at the Ministry of Health because nobody knew anything about cannabis. They don't know about it. They didn't use it. They didn't know what the ups and downs were. And I remember being in that meeting, and they says, we're going to go ahead and legalize the flower. The flower. And I was actually the one who raised my hand going, you can't do that. You legalize the flower, you will let the genie out of the bottle. Because the flower is where the cannabis was. You have to control the flower. But the problem was, you cannot have cannabis products such as gummies, jellies, or oils in Thailand, because if you did, you would have to go through the Thai FDA. Because whatever you ingest, you have to get FDA approval. To get FDA approval in Thailand would be like Putin trying to come to an agreement with Trump, which is almost like it's impossible, right? So they decided, well, let's not go through the FDA and legalize the flower so that you can just smoke it. That was the first foray into this explosion. Because once you legalize the flower, then everybody can utilize the usage of cannabis. So by December of that year, we came up with the framework, as Jonathan has said, to regulate it. But by the time we got to the regulation part, another election came up. And the problem was not the Phum Chai Thai party, it wasn't the government, it wasn't Big Du. It was actually one man, Kun Jurin, and I blame him every day for this. I hate this guy, and I'll say it on public. This guy was a disaster. He was the head of the Democratic Party. And he felt that what's best for his party, which was to not have Phum Chai Thai take credit for regulating, will be best for the party rather than people. So he knocked our regulation out. We couldn't pass the regulation because the Democratic Party wouldn't allow it. And I told him on that day, you have now really opened up the genie in the bottle. That's why you see, there's, Kitty, if I'm wrong on this, I think there's like 18,000 cannabis shops that opened up. Like we're kind of a neat country. We have more cannabis stores than we do 7-Elevens. Right? And then people started growing, right? But anything, you're growing stuff that people will take. So my concern was, are you growing with pesticides? Are you growing with things, chemicals, that when people ingest, it would actually cause more problems than not? All our regulation at that time was to control this, right? If people needed to use it, you can use it. If you want to sell it, can we put some controls in to make sure that the people who buy it aren't hurt by it, right? Then basically I got out of the cannabis business. So I was in the cannabis business. Kitty was actually my partner. So we worked together for a very long time. We had a very successful cannabis business. Luckily, I was able to sell my company to Canadians. I love Canadians. Any Canadians here? No Canadians? Darn. Thank you, oh Canada. So at that time, Canada was really growing big, so they bought my company for $60 million. I'm a little confused. So I was able to sell out. I completely left the cannabis business. Never did anything else again until beginning of this year when I was called back by Minister Somsak Tepsutin. And he called me and he says, are you okay that we're going to criminalize cannabis again? I'm like, you're going to do what? Because we're going to criminalize cannabis again. I'm like, why? Because that's what the party is going to do. So he wanted me to go check with Kun Anutin, who at that time was the Minister of Interior, if he would be okay if we criminalize cannabis again. So I went to check. Anutin says, I don't care. I already kept my promise, which was to legalize it. If Phua Thai wants to criminalize it again, by all means, go ahead and do it. Then I felt a tinge, which people like Mimi, a lot of the small operators, met with me and it says, do you know what happens if you criminalize the cannabis again? Billions is lost. Billions. Not baht, dollars. So I came up with the numbers. I said there are 18,000 stores. If each store invested 2 million baht into opening a store, that's $1 billion. That is gone. There's currently about 68,000 bud tenders that are employed by these stores. They're all out of jobs. The stores are currently sitting in shopping places, or along the, who lives in Sukhumvit, all of those would be emptied. All of those would be emptied. Who are you going to go get to re-rent these stores? So I came up with the economic angle, which I then presented to the minister. I said, forget cannabis. The economic impact on this would be tremendous. Plus, you're trying to convey people or convince people to do casinos in Thailand. Could you imagine what would happen if casino investors were to see this and says any new government can kill the last government's policy? What casino in their right mind would want to invest in Thailand? So I had that going for me. I thank God every day that I met a minister who actually understands that he didn't want to hurt people. He didn't want to hurt Thai's economy. So he says, okay, go draft this up. So we came to a compromise, which was we wouldn't criminalize it, but how about we really make it medical? So I went back to the original plan that Jurin knocked down and just presented that plan, which was the plan that is used in the US, is used in Germany, it's used in Australia, it's used pretty much all over the world. There is a fallacy. America does not legalize cannabis. The states in America legalize cannabis. Federally, it's not. You go to certain states, like in New York, Ohio, Florida, you still have to have medical. So I just basically, I thank God for ChatGPT. So in the ChatGPT, and it says, what's the best medical marijuana policy in the world? And it actually came up Ohio and Florida. I just kind of copied it. We should do this because it works. So basically, on September 1st, coming up in 2 weeks, the official announcement will come out as how cannabis will be going forward in Thailand. Now, the reason I'm here is because you may not realize this. The cannabis industry here, 60% are foreign users. And they start using on October 1st. The number one market is Germany, France. Thank God for the Queen, English people. So a lot of Europeans are starting on October 1st. They're going to come to Thailand and they want to use cannabis. People are confused right now. Can they come and use or not? Okay. So we're announcing on September 1st, so by October 1st, people can be ready as to what they can or cannot do. First thing I want to be very clear, and I'll make this very short now. Cannabis in Thailand is legal. Let's be clear on this. Cannabis in Thailand will not be criminalized. It will be legal. It'll just have regulations to make it crystal clear what that legality is. One of the regulation is those who need it. Let's be clear on this. Those who need it, not those who want it. It's two different terms. Those who need it and those who want it. Those who need it will be able to use cannabis in Thailand. Needing means what? If you have the following disease. If you have these 5 diseases, or if the doctor prescribes, if you have these 5 issues, it used to be basically very hard, but we came up with these 5 issues, that if you have these 5 issues and a doctor prescribes you using these 5 issues, you can use cannabis. Can you put it on the board? อีกอันหนึ่ง
อีกหน้าหนึ่งบีม
อีกหน้าหนึ่งบีม
ที่มีโรค
ที่มีโรคอ่ะ Yeah, so this is the, if you have insomnia and you can't prescribe, you can use cannabis. Right? Anybody has insomnia here? If you don't pick it up. If you don't pick it up, right? If you have chronic pain, if you have migraine, anybody have migraine here? Yeah, thank God my wife isn't here. She would have raised her hand. If you have Parkinson's, if you have an appetite disorder. So let's be crystal clear. If you need it, you can use it. If you want it, you can. We don't want people just being able to smoke to get high. That was never the objective. Cannabis, for all its goodness, does have drawbacks. Nothing is perfect, right? It is a medicine in its own form. So if you have those things, you can use it. Now, how do you get it? Well, original deal was that you would have to go see a doctor. The problem we saw in Thailand was no medical doctor wants to prescribe cannabis. I never understood why. Medical doctors, MDs, hate cannabis. They just don't want to prescribe it. So we saw that as a problem. So we came back with the ministry and says, well, you know, there's another kind of doctor in Thailand, which is the Thai traditional medicine practitioner, who would know a lot about cannabis. Why don't we elevate them to allow them to diagnose and prescribe? Luckily, the new head of the Ministry of Health, Kun Somlerk, happened to be at that time the head of the Thai traditional medicine. So he saw the value of this. So on this one, you can go see 2 kinds of doctors, medical doctor or Thai traditional doctor, who can prescribe what you need. We wanted to make it easy for people who need it to use it. Then the problem was, in Thailand, when you walk into a pharmacy to get a prescribed pill, you need to be prescribed by a pharmacist. We just said that was DOA. That means 18,000 stores would have to hire 18,000 pharmacists. The problem in Thailand was there isn't 18,000 pharmacists. And then what we also found out was pharmacists don't like to dispense cannabis. We did a survey. 76% said they would not dispense cannabis. So we had to come up with a solution, Right? We had to come up with a solution. One, these stores could never afford to have a pharmacist sit in their store. It would cost them a minimum of 60,000 baht a month. Right? Two, how do we dispense it so that a pharmacist wouldn't have to do it? So then we said, wait a minute, these stores already have dispensers. They're called bud tenders. They're called bud tenders. They work there. And to be fair, these bud tenders are very knowledgeable. So why don't we just elevate these bud tenders into pharmacists through training? They have to come through to the Ministry of Health to get training on how to dispense. And basically what it is bud tender can ask the right questions. Do you really have insomnia? So there's a training program now. And then we said, well, it's hard to have people come to Bangkok to get trained. So this is the first time ever that the ministry allowed to do training online. You can actually go online, do training, go back to work in your store. Your store is now legal to dispense cannabis. So again, we wanted to protect the investors. That's why the partnership with the ministry was with the SME Association. Because the SME Association, in their capacity, has over 375,000 members already. And we also wanted to elevate the cannabis business into a real business, into a small and medium enterprise. The ministry has agreed to that. So right now, I'll end it here so there will be more questions. Cannabis is legal. There's now a crystal clear process as to people who need it can use it. Stores who follow the rules can stay in business and hopefully still make a lot of money. Farmers can still grow. If they want to grow for themselves, feel free. Grow 6 plants, 7 plants, you just can't sell it. If you sell it, can you at least go through our process of ensuring that what you're selling meets a standard, basic medical issues, GACP. A lot of people are saying, well, small farmers can't do GACP. Small farmers can't sell commercially anyway. It's a different whole kind of business model. Lastly, what we did was we saw that cannabis is being exported out of Thailand a lot, both legally and illegally. By putting in these rules, it puts the customs department on hold. That says, if these things don't go through the ministry and to be exported out, we will stop it. Because I was with the British ambassador, and he told me, Tom, you got a problem. Way too much weed is flowing into England. How do we stop it? Let's put rules and regulations in. So again, what we have tried to do is to protect the cannabis industry here. We have tried to protect the small enterprises. We have to try to protect the small farmers who want to grow and use for themselves. But mostly we want to protect the reputation of Thailand. I was sitting down with the Minister of Tourism and the head of tourism, Kun Thapani, and she showed me the numbers. They did a survey. Did you know this, Jonathan? They did a survey of the tour groups coming in from Germany, of England, of China. 76% said, we don't want to send tours into Thailand, family tours, because the families don't like the smell. People were smoking on the beaches of Phuket. It affected our tourism. I saw the numbers. So hopefully by doing this, we protect the reputation of tourism. We protect the reputation that, well, we're no longer Amsterdam on steroids, right? We're just Amsterdam that's better, right? We have real regulations. It will be put in place. Next week, you'll start seeing first press conference will be on the September 1st with the minister and the head of the health department. The second conference will be with the minister and the head of police of Thailand. The third press conference will be with the minister and the governor of Bangkok, Kun Chattat, to make it clear that in Bangkok, here's how you use it. We want tourists to come here without having to worry about police coming up to them and arresting them, without having them worry about getting pushed for money, because everything will be electronic. You will have a code on your phone that says you can use it, then police can't touch you. So that's where cannabis is as of today. Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing is perfect, but it has to start somewhere. And I think that we have tried our best to look at all the stakeholders and make sure that if you need it, I clarify this word, if you need it, you will be able to use it. If you want it, we can't support that. We don't want a country that just gets people high. We want a country that gets people well. That's where we are.
Thank you, Tom. Well, it's a very thorough run through. Kitty, I really want to come to you now because I was with you when you were leading a protest down at Government House 3 months ago. Clearly you had concerns about what were then plans to regulate the cannabis industry. Now we're in August. I think that was back in sort of June. So what are your thoughts now about what Tom has outlined?
I wrote notes. You'll probably see a lot of eye rolling. I'm just really, I feel like what I experienced was totally different from what he experienced. But then again, it could be the same picture, but just we're looking at different angles. How shall I say? He is correct on a couple of things, such as because people don't understand or know cannabis, that's why the policy is in disarray as it is right now. So in itself, I have a lot of things to say, whether it's about the GACP, which is actually the good agricultural and collection practices, just as anyone wanted to know what the abbreviation stand for. As well as like the whole bud tender thing. It sounds so absolutely wonderful, the picture that he has painted. Unfortunately, the back of the painting is just full of holes and unfinished paints putting on. Things are just kind of cracking and like falling apart at the seams. So the GACP in itself that can apparently be achievable by the general agriculturists in Thailand or the general farmers is absolutely unobtainable. Each time they have a crop, like say one strain, they have to pay at least 25,000 baht to get that tested. If you are a small-time grower, you're probably not going to produce any more than not even a kilo. And that does not make sense for you to sell onto another small shop. Also, in terms of getting that certificate in your facility in the first place also required at least 30,000 plus just to have auditors to come in and tell you, oh, you need to maybe remove this wall so that this room can be as according to the papers. So, and here's the funny thing about the GACP though. It is a regulation that was randomly pulled up from a 22-year-old regulation that Europe and the UN no longer use. Oh wait, sorry, the WHO, the World Health Organization. It's a very, very old rule. Now in Europe, we actually use HACCP, I think like hazardous something or other collection. There's like a whole other rules that, that I would say if you are looking at exporting cannabis in itself, that would actually be accepting by other countries. So the rules that we are apparently imposing doesn't actually get certified by those outside of Thailand. So I don't think that's actually makes sense. Also, the bud tenders, right now there is like training going for 2,000 baht, even though the rules that he said that is supposed to come out has yet to come out. It hasn't even gone on to the Koromor, the minister's table. So I don't think that's going to be coming in anytime soon. Also, I am kind of doing a bunch of things to make it so that it doesn't come out, and also trying to revoke the existing announcement that has been announced where everyone has to get the prescription, as well as requiring the GACP flowers to be sold at the shops. We are also filing cases at the administrative court against Somsak Tepsutin, the health minister right now, as well as at the Anti-Corruption Commission. Because the rules that has been let out, what it initially does is pretty much monopolize the whole process of how cannabis is grown all the way through to being sold. So,
Kitty, can you explain? You're saying that the regulations will make it will only support big business, not the small businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Because
why is that? Just explain why.
right now there's only 79 GACP certified facilities, and there's 18,000 shops, as you heard. So there's that. Like, you can look at from freaking Mars, and you can still see that. Like, this is kind of on goal to going to monopolize it. Where you will then kind of slowly remove all the other players and maybe only have like 5 or 10 left. It makes sense. It's business. Like, if you look at it as business and also to protect the investors, that is exactly how it's supposed to be done. Unfortunately, that's not how it's supposed to be done if you are trying to govern a country, if you are trying to give fair platform for everybody, and also, this should not be a country's policy. I understand as a business regulation or like, in the business books, but not to force everyone under. Also with the tourism thing, if corruption doesn't exist, we wouldn't have that issue in the first place. So all of this is all systematic problem. And I feel like whatever the government is trying to do is just trying to show that they are working on this particular thing, even though for over 2 years they haven't really done much to make any changes to the rules that Kun Anutin actually put in place in the first place.
Would you acknowledge that it is a free-for-all, that it's not really sustainable at the scale that it's operating at, that something has to change?
I was screaming Cannabis Act from day one, and still are, and we are still pushing for it. We, the cannabis people, every freaking 2-3 months, I will go and file a piece of paper going, where the hell is the law? Can you please do something about regulating this? So it's not like I don't have a track record.
But what's so different between the Cannabis Act you want and the regulations that Tom has been talking about?
We actually want to actually go into Parliament to continue to draft that act, an act that will actually have voices and concern of all people, all stakeholders, not just the business owners. We actually want to know the people who are also anti-cannabis. Why? What is the big issue? How do we deal with this? It's already out of the bottle. Everyone still need to discuss about how this should look like. Regulation should not be up to me, up to him, or up to anyone but one person.
Not enough consultation, basically.
No.
Or none.
And at the end of the day, 3 years on, he's still talking about the cannabis is in the flower. It's like, I don't understand. I thought we should at least have a bit more knowledge about cannabis by now. It has been legal for 3 years, goddammit.
Obviously, there's a lot for Tom to respond to there, but I just want to ask Kunchet, because your role has been, it seems to be to sort of help the small businesses adjust to these new regulations. Just explain how that works.
Can you show the slide? Yeah. So actually, since Kun Tom says,
Sorry.
Yes. Okay.
That one. Yeah.
So here's the thing. So let's look at the stakeholder for using cannabis as a medical. So there is a patient, there is a bartender.
Before you go, just to be clear, so that you understand that no big business is in control of this. This was built by the SME Association and given to the Ministry of Health for free, so that no one can charge the stores or no one can charge the people who want to come and use this. The only charge is going to be between the doctor who's prescribing and the patient. So no one makes money off this, just to be clear. This is open system, free to the public who needs it. So no monopoly on this.
Go on, Kunchet.
Thank you. Okay. So, as Tom says, I am from the Small Medium Business Enterprise Association. We try to help dispensary that facing the regulation change, right? So the thing that patients need to get the prescription before to who really needs to use it. So actually the patient needs to see the doctor, right? So in our system, the patients can go create an account, right? The video right now is showing how they can create an account. Actually, they can create an account before coming to Thailand, right? To say that I am the one who really need to use a cannabis. Okay, Beam, go to next slide. Okay, once they create an account, what they're doing is, okay, they can start new application, which is like, okay, I'm going to tell my doctor what my symptom is. I am an insomnia, I have a migraine, or I have a appetite disorder. So this system is go through and if you have a medical record at your country, like your prescription before, your medical record, you can upload it to be, evident that you have this symptom before. Okay, and then we stop there. Okay, there are 3 things that you can do. One, you can do the advanced booking to see the doctor. You can do instant, like meet the doctor right now, or can do the face-to-face, right? But the whole prescriptions of the system, that since this system already belong to ministry, so everyone to prescribe it have to be in the system. Everyone who receive the prescribe have to be in the system. So we can track the abnormally use of the prescription.
Can I just clarify one thing? If you're training these bud tenders, this online course,
Yep.
if they've passed that course, can they then give someone a prescription? They can approve them to be...
The prescription has to be have to be a doctor.
Different. The
Okay.
diagnosis has to be a doctor.
Okay.
The prescriber giving the medicine can be the bud tender. We wanted to protect the bud tender's jobs.
All right.
But telemedicine is actually not, doing it like this is actually not legal.
This is legal. This launches on September 1st.
Not by the actual clinic law, unfortunately.
It's okay, sweetheart.
So
Whatever
you-
you may think, on September 1st, it becomes all legal. And I hope that, because she's saying, so let me ask you a question. If it's legal, you're okay with it?
No,
Wait, so I'm a little
absolutely
confused.
not.
So you're saying it's not legal, so you're not okay with it, but once it becomes legal, you're still not okay with it?
No, because it's bullshit policy.
By trying to protect people?
This is not protecting, because right now there is doctors actually in weed shop, even though they're not supposed to be. They are only allowed to sign if they are at clinics. There are laws and regulation, because like the other thing that why we are able to file these cases is because they were so quick to release this announcement out that they forgot to dot the I's and cross the T's. There's a lot of other regulation that are interrelated to this that is affecting that right now.
Specifically, what regulations?
Say, especially with the telemedicine. There is such thing as telemedicine.
Yeah, I know what it
It
is,
exists within especially the COVID time. There are rules about it. Like, technically, yes, they can do this if they already saw the doctor and they were already an existing patient. If it's a new patient, no. There are like that silly type of regulation that they need to go and change before this can become legal. That's pretty much it.
I have to say, Tom, we're
Yeah, I don't
outside
hold on,
bureaucracy
let
is
me answer that.
legendary. You did make it sound
Hold
like
on.
it's going to be amazingly smooth.
Hold on. Because everything Kitty said is absolutely correct. Because when I went into this, being out of the cannabis business, on a personal basis, I have nothing to gain, except for what I wanted, which is to protect the integrity of what I started. So we saw all the pitfalls, and we had to go in and change a few things. Yes, telemedicine in Thailand has a very weird rule, which is your first visit has to be with a doctor, and then from that point on, you can do telemedicine as much as you want. We spent literally 3 weeks every day speaking to all the stakeholders in the Ministry of Health, and we said, is that a real rule? Or is that a rule that is a directive? There's a law and there's a directive. What we found out was it's a directive. Directives can be changed. So we asked them, what are the cases that a doctor physically doesn't have to meet with the patient? So for example, I cannot prescribe cannabis online if you have cancer. You saw the cancer wasn't on there. I can't do it if you have diabetes. I can't do it if you have things that will actually affect you if you don't see a doctor. That's why we came up with only those 5. That where you physically don't have to be in front of a doctor, but you can be with him on a screen. So if you have other diseases, you can't come to our telemedicine. You can only come to our telemedicine if you have those 5 diseases. That's the new directive. It's only those 5. Everything else, you just have to physically see a doctor first. So I'm not arguing with Kitty. The answer is yes. That's why it's only 5 diseases that you can actually do real telemedicine in, which was the diseases that we checked around the world. These are mostly of what people who were using cannabis getting prescriptions in New York, Florida, Australia, Germany were using. So they agreed on that. So on those 5 diseases, you can just go directly to a telemedicine. The telemedicine cannot prescribe cannabis for somebody who has cancer. That's illegal. They would have to see a doctor first, right? And going back to her point is, in Thailand, Kitty and I are actually on the same page. We both agree.
Just so you don't sound it.
No. We're on the same page in one thing. There is no regulation. So I'm a little confused when people who ask for regulations, when they finally get one, they are anti-regulation. All we're saying is, let's be crystal clear, if you need it, you can use it. If you want it, you can't. Most of the people who are anti what we're trying to do are people who just want to smoke and get high. That is not our objective.
I'm going to put 2 things to you, Tom. One is, I very well remember you saying in the heyday when it was starting, there is no real distinction between medical and recreational cannabis. The second is, and you're not the only one to say this, I mean, you basically have said to me, it's got out of control, there are way too many businesses, they're not making enough money. It's that essentially the goal of this policy is not just to have regulation, but also to cut the business down so you don't have this huge glut of marijuana that's driven prices down, has made it tempting for the smugglers to sell it in other countries. There is another goal here, isn't there, which is to sort of bring the business down to size, which might possibly raise Kitty's concern that it's going to end up in the hands of the bigger businesses, not the small ones.
The goal on the second part is, the goal is to allow people who will do it legally, who will do it with the benefit to society fully, to be in business. You're right. We want to get rid of those who are smuggling it out illegally, those who grow without the GACP standard. We want to stop the illegality of it. Though this law is very simple. We have put something out there that if you can do it, and by the way, when Kitty says this came out of Tom's behind, we did tremendous amount of surveys, right? I went to Phuket, Samui, Pattaya, Bangkok. We asked literally 300 stores if anybody had a problem with this. Most of them kept asking the same question, when? Because they rather have something that's clear and regulated than unclear and don't know what the heck's going to go on. People are very concerned. Users, stores right now are losing customers because foreigners are coming in and going, can I or can I not use it? So we're telling you, you can use it if you just, there is nothing in this world. You know, it's basically saying, okay, we allow you to drive. So go ahead and just take a car and drive. Before you can drive a car, you got to learn how to drive a car. You got to go get a license. Then you can drive.
All right, Kitty, that's Tom's somewhat rosy assessment. Come on, I want do you recognize that view of the industry?
He's correct. It's very American, very westernized idea of that cannabis is a very scary thing. Don't forget, it's a plant. It can't actually run over and, whack you in the head. But I would say that a lot of it looks great on paper. It looks great on paper. Like, just need a prescription. Maybe you can do a telemedicine. Maybe we'll change the law so that it's easier for the tourists.
It's not the law, it's a regulation. We don't change any laws. Changing laws are hard. Changing regulations are easy. So let's be crystal clear on that.
changing rules. See, we can pick words. So we change rules to make it sound medical, even though what it essentially kind of show is that if you happen to be a 14-year-old kid and manage to buy that prescription online, you are legally allowed to go into a weed store and purchase GACP weed. And also in terms of the good agricultural practices, just in case anyone's a big cannabis user, organic doesn't actually count. So you're actually not allowed to, grow cannabis organically and then sell as GACP because...
So you don't like the GACP standard?
No, because it's bullshit and doesn't make sense, and it's 22 years old and they no longer use it.
By the way, I understand it. There is an existing rule that you have to be over 20 to buy cannabis in a store.
No, GACP is actually talking about the farmers, that they are growing in a... Think of it as like a growing rice to export overseas. It's pretty much only regulation for exporters, so it shouldn't be required for those who are trying to say, small-time growers who are growing to sell in their own, like, say, tiny little farm. Say, if a farmer growing rice and they are selling rice in front of their houses. We are an agricultural country. I think something simple as that should still be able to be done. I understand that it is hell to regulate, but at the same time, we should be able to find a middle ground. And I would say, because it is the changing of the rules that are easily done by whoever's in power of that particular ministry, we would want to see the law done. We want to see the Cannabis Act so that things like this doesn't happen again. So that when changes are to be done, it goes through proper framework. It goes through,
But would you agree it's hard, as Tom says, and we know this, it's hard passing laws, and the current marijuana industry is a little out of control?
Yes, as a lobbyist, yes. Yeah. So that is actually true. That's why it doesn't make sense in terms of a business plan or as a business model. And as I'm saying now, I'm not here as a business. My business went bust. There was it was actually really hard trying to compete with people who are not following the rules. So unfortunately that happened, but now I can focus more on policies where I seem to be very feisty.
I want to just bring it just to finally get a quick word from
one
Chair.
comment.
Sorry, okay.
So your business went bust because people weren't following the rules. Now we're putting the rules in place so people who aren't following the rules can't do it anymore. Isn't that a good thing?
No, this is new rules. I'm talking about the existing rule
There's a
from before.
philosophical difference here, which I sense, which is that, because I've heard you before on this, you don't believe, the problem in Thailand is enforcement. Whichever rules you bring in will be ignored. Tom is pretty convinced that this set of rules will be followed.
No. To be crystal clear.
It's already not.
Hold on. All I can say is this. You can continue this debate in regards to laying... So if I hear Kitty correctly, the problem is there's never been real rules. On September 1st...
No. There are rules.
Yeah. Okay. Regulations or laws.
But there's no enforcement of the existing very simple rules.
And when I met with the chief of police of Thailand, he was very crystal clear. Because the current rules or regulations doesn't allow the police clarity on how to enforce. Now, if you don't have the barcode on your phone, you will be arrested.
That is incorrect. Cannabis is still a controlled herb. So possession, ownership, carrying it, using it, and also growing it is still legal. You can carry 10 kilos into a police station and it's okay, because there is no law for them to hold you for it.
After September 1st, if you carry 10 kilos in a police station, and you don't have the right to use it, they will put you in jail.
Quick word from you, Kunchet. You represent the SME
Yep.
Association. From what you've seen of these regulations, I mean, Kitty's obviously very skeptical. Do you believe smaller businesses will be able to manage the new rules and thrive and be able, or do you expect that actually quite a lot of the businesses functioning now will probably have to close down?
Yep, absolutely is. Because what we build is compromise. We build this thing to meet the rule and regulation that the small business can comply, and the cost of doing this is on the SME association and transfer this system to ministry. So I hope that the system that we build can be the survival of the small business and can use it for free.
We've done a fairly fierce debate.
The SMEs get the system for free. No store has to pay for the system. Every store on September 1st can sign up to put this system in place to allow people to come in and buy. That was one of the things I was very concerned with. Was the argument was, is this system being monopolized and is somebody making a shitload of money on this? So I made sure that the ministry will give away this. It's like you have a store in Phuket. All you have to do is on September 1st, register it in. The system is immediately given to you for free to utilize.
The proof will be in the eating. Look, it's been a very entertaining debate, but to bring in the rest of our audience with some questions, as always, please identify yourselves and who you're putting your questions.
I think you have to introduce yourself. My name is this and I smoke weed.
Well, I'll reserve an answer to the second point. Thank you very much. My name is Tom as well, Tom Vasey, independent. It's been very
It's a super name.
It's a great name.
You know what Tom stands for, right?
Yeah.
Thailand's original marijuana.
Isn't it? I think, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, Thailand's original, sorry?
Thailand's original marijuana.
Oh,
Tom.
right. Well, there you go.
You're going to get the T-shirt.
So there's been it's been a very interesting discussion, and I've got a lot of questions, but the question I'm going to ask, cannabis has been essentially, it was made illegal in very sort of strange circumstances about a century ago, so it's been illegal for most of the world over a century. And like prohibition, which gave rise to moonshine and so on, the cannabis over that time has been sort of grown in an unregulated way. And the cannabis certainly that is around these days, compared to say when someone like me might have smoked, if I did ever, when I was a teenager or whatever, but is incredibly strong, like moonshine, 50% alcohol, etc. What are the new regulations, I guess this question is aimed at you, Tom, doing about quality control and strength control? Because at the moment, essentially, you've got sort of these buds which are the equivalent of sort of whiskey or vodka or whatever, but you can't buy a beer or a low alcohol beer. And that because it's the flower and not other forms of cannabis, that's the only sort of option on offer legally. So once your wonderful rules come in on September the 1st, is it actually going to end up with a market that addresses, maybe market's the wrong word because of course it's a medical thing, but is it going to address different kinds of needs of the cannabis users, not just the sort of rocket fuel, as it were, that has grown up in the illegal market over the decades? Thank you.
The legal market now. Some
So
cannabis is very
I'm
strong.
not. Kitty can help me answer this also. But when I said that when they let the flower go, it was opening the genie, because most of the THC presides in the flower. It's very hard to control the flower like moonshine. So we couldn't come up with a regulation or a law to control the amount of THC in the flower. Because when most people ask for cannabis, they don't ask what's the best cannabis. They ask what has the highest, what's going to get me high the quickest. So it's very difficult on that aspect. And to be honest with you, I couldn't figure out how to control the amount of THC in the flower, because that would have been put all the farmers, GACP or non-GACP, in a position where the cost of doing business would have been so high that it would have destroyed their company anyway. So we controlled it through the amount of usage you can do. So in each prescription, the doctor will only prescribe 30 grams. Okay, you can only use up to 30 grams.
Sorry, there's no rule for the 30 grams either. There's actually no limit that doctor can prescribe 30 kilos if they
wait
want.
until September 1st.
We
should have done this on
Apparently
September
there
2nd. We should have done it on September.
I would be
So
be okay
right now, we're trying to limit it. We're getting this passed. It was supposed to go through Parliament yesterday, but thanks to Hun Sen, nothing's going through Parliament right now, right? So we're hopefully that it'll go through the next Parliament. But this may not be launched immediately, but the way we're going to control so that people don't use too much of it is we did put in for a regulation that still needs to be approved. I don't disagree with that, but all the consensus is this is a good rule because you can't control the amount of THC in the flower, but you can control the amount of usage. So we put in 30 grams within the rules that the prescription will, so when Kitty gets a prescription, she goes to a store. You buy 5 grams, then 5 grams is knocked off your code. Once you get to 30 grams, you got to go see the doctor again and ask that doctor whether or not I can use more. It doesn't mean you're limited to 30 grams, you're just limited to 30 grams per prescription because we want you to be under the doctor's guidance. That's why the law passes or the rule passes because we're not forcing you at 30 grams. We're just saying after 30 grams, you still need the doctor to give you a new prescription to see whether or not you should be able to use it. So the protector of the abuser is now the physician or the doctor or the Thai medical. Because if you give somebody, if you get like I take diabetes prescription, right? The doctor tells me, like I take Ozempic, right? The doctor says 1 pen a month. I would love to do 2 pens a month so I can lose more weight, right? But the doctor says no. So it's the same thing. It's the same logic. We can't control the amount, and we don't want to, because you're putting a burden on the farmers. So we're trying our best to control the usage to allow the doctor or the physician or the Thai medical doctor to have input onto how much that patient can use. That's where it is. I hope that answers your question. No?
Does that sound reasonable to you?
I mean, there's different kinds. Things like, what's going to be happening with CBD and edibles and all the other
Again,
aspects of
we looked into that. We actually think, and this is completely, now this is where I'm dreaming. I could be, but it doesn't mean it'll get there. The reason you can't do gummies or jellies or edibles in Thailand is because it's not a medical product. As a medical product, then you can take that product and go to the FDA now. And hopefully the FDA will approve it as a medical product. I actually think that with this new rule for medical, then you can actually take it through jellies, through oils, through edibles. I hope. That one I'm not sure yet. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm here right now. But I think that with the way the FDA looks at things, the FDA is very simple. They want to protect the consumer. If there are real rules on how they can protect the consumer, then they may be more lenient to allow that to happen. The flower is the worst way you can take cannabis. You're taking in smoke. You're taking in carcinogens. You can't control the amount of THC. That's what I'm trying to explain to the FDA. So you want to take this medical, you should take it to medical devices. There are now pens or vapes that will actually control the amount of THC that you take. I want to go to that level. But we can't get to that level until we make it medical. That's all we're saying. Smoking is the worst thing that you could do. And what's really weird, so you want to go medical, but you allow smoking to happen. So yes, sir, I will try my darndest to move people into an area where it's safer. People with cancer should not be smoking weed. But they have to now because there's no other way to do it. So to answer your question is we hopefully will work with people like Kitty, to try to move people into real medical devices, right? And luckily, universities in Thailand, Khon Kaen universities, they actually agree with that, right? So hopefully one day the flower issue will go away and it'll move into more of a medical device issue.
Sean.
Sean Crispin, Asia Times. Tom,
So
you were...
you're Sean Crispin.
I am. It's good to see you.
Finally. Okay.
Yeah. No, we can duke it out later out on the balcony if you want, right?
You're better looking than your name.
You've lost a lot of weight, you know. This has been great. Yeah, right.
Guys, I'm telling you, Ozempic.
Here we go.
Get on.
You raised, I thought, a really interesting point, or a very candid point, that you were speaking with the British ambassador who's like, man, Thailand's got a problem, right? All this Thai weed's ended up on our shores. And I'm just wondering what this regulatory push is going to do about that, right? That this notion that Thailand is kind of starting to be perceived, not just, you know, with some of the tourism-related issues, people don't want to come here because their kids are going to smell marijuana, but this notion that Thailand is becoming a de facto kind of unregulated narco state, right? And it's just disseminating, you know, the weed is flowing to all these countries unregulated, and part of that, I think, speaks to Jonathan's whole notion of this free-for-all, right? That there are all these shops, none of them are making money now, and it looks like exporting is the way to go. So what do the new regulations, if at anything at all, do about this notion of weed flowing
To be clear,
outside the country?
The smuggled stuff is not coming from the shops. That's for sure, we know that.
Maybe the back door, John. It's all the same place.
I appreciate your comment, and I hope that Kitty and her team and the people like that will try to understand that the world does look at Thailand now as a narco state. That we have to stop. But it has to stop with the first steps. The first step is you have to put in clear regulations so that people like the Customs Department, who are actually more responsible for that than our Ministry of Health, the immigration, the police are aware now that these are rare. This, just to be fair to me on this one, I am not involved in the whole GACP thing at all. I chose not to be involved in creating rules for growers. Our job is to create rules to protect the SMEs and protect the integrity of the usage of cannabis. The GACP thing is being handled by a completely different group than me. But I do agree with them that if you put up standards of GACP and things like that, when the weed comes out and it's to be exported, they have to have real license. But then again, that's an issue that's beyond Kitty, myself, or anybody's health. It is a supply and demand issue. Right now, Jonathan just told me this, he went to the airport and he saw, what, 200,000 suitcases?
200 suitcases, 23 kilos each, yeah.
Yeah. It is a problem. I wish I had the answer. I don't know. I hope that at least the Customs Department, I hope at least the police will now be aware that rules are now put in place. It is a supply and you have to understand where the weed is going out from. So there were these growers, Vietnamese and Chinese growers in America, right? In Oklahoma, that used to ship weed out of Oklahoma to around the world. Then they saw that Thailand became a free-for-all. Every Vietnamese and every Chinese person decided to come to Thailand, right? You have cities now up in Chiang Mai who are growing, not for legal use, but for exportation use.
But there's a point here, Tom, which is that those growers are actually violating existing regulations. So they're just going to carry on violating your regulations.
Again, our regulation is designed to protect the small businesses and the user who need to use it. That one is a Customs Department issue, right? It's a law enforcement issue that we hope that both people will see, that through the fact that the Ministry of Health, the Prime Minister, whoever it is tomorrow, I have no idea, agrees that there should be regulations. It has to start somewhere. And I hope that this is where I always get a little confused. You're going from zero regulations to some regulations now, which hopefully will lead more down the road. I've never seen a country where you can just cure everything all at one day. I wish I had the magic touch. But at least now I'm crystal clear that the people I need to protect, the small business owners, the people who need to use it, and the reputation of our country for users is protected. If I'm minister of something next government, I'll take his idea and we'll figure it out.
Kitty, I wanted to bring, just before we bring the next question, when decriminalisation finally came, which was something you'd been campaigning for a long time, did you have a vision about how you would have liked it to work out?
If it's up to me, it would be something a little bit more tight than before the announcement, but not in the way that it's done right now. It does not make sense. It opens up for more corruption. It opens up for more dirty police or like the local authorities to, make extra money.
But won't that always be a problem in Thailand?
It's just gotten a little bit worse when I'm getting daily messages asking like, can you help me out? The police is calling me. And even though I have all the licensing, all the things that the new requirements, we got everything, but they are still asking for 5,000 baht, 10,000 baht a month. There's also a lot of information going out, like, with the Thai locals, let's not talk about just the tourists. The local Thais, there's news going out that cannabis is now illegal again. The police are putting up checkpoints, and anyone who looks like they can push it, they will. And people are paying, like, they would call out 10,000 baht, but then by the end of it, they would get 70% off.
But won't this improve it? If you can get this QR code pretty easily, won't that be the solution? You show it to the police and say, don't touch me.
They don't actually care. They were just, doing it to shake down. It's like, how the Thai police are. And this is kind of making it even easier for them. And a lot of the tourists also gets this as well, because I also get complaint from the tourists too.
I'm going to take another question if I can, please.
Can I just ask you, so now, I'm sorry, I'm going to point to this lovely lady here because she's so pretty and sitting right in front of me. Now you have a QR code on your phone that says you're legally to use it. Prior to what we set up, you had nothing. So now a police officer comes to you. What's the first thing you're going to show that police officer? The QR code. And if the police officer still pushes you for money, will you pay it? Or you'll take a video of it and then you post it all over social media that says this police is corrupted. Prior to what we're trying to do, Kitty's absolutely right. There was no way to protect you. Now there is a way to protect you, which is you have a QR code. That means you're in need. And the fact that the head of police is meeting and having a press conference with the Minister of Health to announce this. So to be fair, yeah, they'll go after the people who are using it illegally. I can't help that. But at least you now have you can go out into the winter with a coat. Doesn't mean it will always keep you warm, but at least now you have a coat. Prior to this, you had no coat. So I'm a little confused when Kitty says this won't help. If I'm going to freeze to death and somebody gives me a coat, I will grab onto it. And this is what we're trying to do for all the users and all this. Now, at the store, because now the bud train tenders have to be trained, each store will have a certificate. You have the certificate? Each store will have to have the certificate on the wall. If a store has this certificate and a policeman went in and tried to get money, they just point to we have a certificate to legally dispense cannabis. Isn't that a coat to protect you from the winter cold? So to say that this doesn't help doesn't make any sense to me. Because first thing I thought was exactly what Kitty says. How to protect the customer or the user from unnecessary illegal activities by law enforcement. We're just trying to bring law enforcement into the fold. Nima, do you have the certificate? So this is a Ministry of Health certificate that the stores will have to have. Okay. And if you have this, that means you're legal to dispense. If you don't have it, what does it mean? You're not legal to dispense. So the police can't go after you.
That's just a bud tender thing. It's not enforced yet. 1st of September.
Okay.
Sorry.
Next question, please. Far away before Tom starts talking again.
Hello, my name is Matthias Peer. I work for the German business daily Handelsblatt. Thanks for the very interesting presentation. I was wondering when I saw the list of possible diseases you can have in order to apply for a medical certificate. The question seems quite obvious, how to make sure that this system is not being abused. It's so difficult to verify that somebody actually has migraines, especially via telemedicine. So how do you make sure that potential customers are not just making false statements via this app, via telemedicine, and the whole recreational system that is existing right now will just continue with this extra layer and this extra app.
Yep.
So one question to you, Tom, please, but also Kitty.
Chet, you
I would
wanna-
also,
Let me take that answer.
I would also be interested in your view as
Yeah,
well.
sure.
Like, if you think this is going to
Because
happen.
all the prescription will be in the system. So when the doctor, either telemed, either face-to-face, they will look at your history, right? If you one day, you come in, you get a 30 gram, and tomorrow, you get a 30 gram. There's a suspicion on that, right? If you have no good reason, I believe the doctor will not give you, right?
I mean,
Let me try to answer
the
this.
question was
I understand your
yeah,
question,
yeah.
so let me try to answer this. We thought about that, but again, we had to compromise between the needs of the small businesses to be able to dispense cannabis and the need of the user. So basically, we have to depend on the doctors also and the integrity of those doctors in prescribing. So when you come to that doctor and you says, I'm sick, I'm whatever, it is upon the doctor now to say yes or no. If at any time we see that you have abused this, the penalty is not on you. The penalty is upon the doctor or the Thai medical dispenser. So the penalty is we will pull their license. So if you give a bad prescription and that person is abusing that prescription through the fact that we give you 30 grams today, in 5 days you come back for 30 more grams, you come back. These doctors have to register with the Ministry of Health. If they so choose to abuse, okay, we punish the doctor, not the user. So hopefully, again, no system is perfect, but at least it gives people, one who needs it, the ability to use it without having to go through a lot of loops and hoops. But it also protects the integrity of it by putting the penalty upon the prescriber and also on the bud tender. That's why at these Ministry of Health bud tending classes, we have a course for an hour ensuring that the bud tender is aware if that person really has that disease. Is that perfect? Again, it's no. It's at my estate, we put up speed bumps to make sure that cars don't go fast. It doesn't stop the car, but at least we slow it down. And hopefully Kitty's group, people like that will understand that the speed bumps don't stop accidents completely, but they slow it down. And hopefully as we move forward, we will be able to better answer your question.
Thank you. So the next question, please.
Can
would
I
like Kitty
just
also
a
to answer
little
it,
bit?
sorry.
Just very tiny bit. It's already being abused right now. This already exists. There's already Thai clinics that are doing this, and it's apart from the police shakedown, the people who are selling the system is actually trying to scare the public, saying that it's now, limited again, it's illegal again, so you need to go and get your own prescription to keep the popo away. And also with the bud tender 6-hour training was actually a lot of bullshit. I went in and read all the curriculums. It was quite silly because it was 1 hour of going through how to read the prescription, because you're not a doctor. You're just a guy selling weed at the store, but you need to somehow be trained in reading the prescription for an hour. And I understand they require to make it 6 hours, so it's a full day, so that they can, charge for it. So it makes sense, business-wise. Yeah.
So wouldn't you want a bud tender who knows how to read a prescription? I'm confused on that comment. So the reason is I actually give bud tenders a lot of credit. And this was my argument with the Ministry of Health. I said, they wanted a 4-day training. And I said, no store would send their bud tender, either online or offline, to do 4 hours.
I would argue about the position of bud tender in the first place, to tell you the truth.
As in how you define it?
Anyone?
I would call them storekeepers or shopkeepers more than because they are there to sell a product. It's not like a barista where they are mixing things or anything.
Isn't a 4-hour course or a 6-hour course better than no training at all?
I would say that by having a license in the first place, you should already have these basic sets of information, where also owners do have, like, things that they have to go through, and like reports and things that they have to do already.
I think where there's going to be a bit of a problem, from your position, Kitty, is that, I mean, Tom's just saying, okay, we need to regulate it. We've got a framework. It's not perfect. I think people might be confused about whether you want more regulation or less regulation or different regulation.
I want regulation that makes sense. The current, the regulation before the announcement that has been released out in June was bare minimal. It needs to be enforced, which was never really enforced. And since June, they start enforcing. That's why there's all these 1,000 shops that are being shut down. If they were enforced, say, a year earlier, my shop would probably still exist, because I don't have to compete against someone who's selling hash or gummies or, cookies on the side of the road. So I feel that the issue from the first day that I was here talking is still the same set issue, which is lack of knowledge, nepotism, and corruption, which is quite systematic issue about Thailand.
Which means it won't change whatever regulation.
Absolutely.
Framework you have.
So I understand where Kitty's coming from. My whole point, I guess, would be is on September 1st, what she wants, hopefully not everything she wants, will be announced, and there will be regulations to help. Like when we discussed the bud tenders, my concern was 53,000 bud tenders could be out of a job. Each store would have to pay for a pharmacist to dispense medicine. Could you imagine a store hiring a pharmacist for 50,000 baht to sit there? The other problem was, what we found out was when people want to buy cannabis, they don't buy it at 6 in the afternoon. They want to buy it at like 10 p.m., 1 a.m., right? No pharmacist is going to sit in a store and dispense at 1 a.m. in the morning. We actually give credit to the bud tenders. We think the bud tenders know what they're doing. We actually think that if we're giving them knowledge to be able to read things like prescription, to be a part of the system, to be elevated into a real job. That's why I brought in the SME Association, to give them real protection in the job market is better than not doing anything. So I give the bud tenders a lot of credit. I think they are very knowledgeable. We're just trying to enhance that knowledge. We want to protect their jobs. I want to make sure that the stores aren't damaged by the current rules and regulations that says to dispense medicine, you have to have a pharmacist. I give Minister Somsak a lot of credit for seeing through the problems and saying, okay, if this is the best solution, let's do it. It was difficult to convince people that bud tenders are people too. But we got that through. So jobs are now being protected. They know how to dispense. It goes back to the gentleman from Germany's question of how do we ensure. We're depending on a community to ensure that what we're trying to do is to regulate it. If we keep focusing on corruption, nepotism, and all that, that's not a cannabis industry problem. I don't disagree with that. But there is a group of people now who's trying to protect exactly what Kitty wants. The alternative of this was what I was told in January. We will criminalize this. Believe me, it would have been that easy to criminalize. Why? Because they took a survey. You know what the survey returned? 86% of the people surveyed didn't mind cannabis being criminalized again. And we asked another question, why? It's the smell. It's the smell. They didn't want Bangkok, Phuket. Phuket had the biggest hit. The Phuket governor was very adamant on criminalizing this again. So I'm not the enemy of what Kitty's trying to do. I wish you would realize that what we're trying to do is to protect the integrity of what, to be fair, I birthed this thing. Kitty knows this, the media knows this. I birthed this baby. I didn't want to see it die.
Let's get the next question, please.
Thank you.
I think I'll probably make that the last question, if that's okay.
My name is Win. I'm a dispensary owner. So this question is to Kun Tom and Kun Chet. So with this app, it comes out on the 1st of September, right? Is it government or is it private? Is it free? And every time, let's say I have a customer coming to my shop, he's German, he wants to buy weed, he doesn't have a prescription. Can I just tell him, okay, go online right now to this website, register, get this, and then you can buy weed from my shop? And the second question is that why not a medical card? Like the government could have done that at the airport, whatever, and then people who hold this, they can go into the shop and buy it. Why not that? Thank you.
So let me answer the second question first. We tried the medical card idea. What we saw was people started printing these medical cards in bulk and just selling the medical cards with anybody's signature on it. We saw that immediately. The original idea was to have these paper, Paw Taw 33, and you can just get the paper, sign, and then give it to the store, and that would be done. Then we saw the abuse of that. People were selling these medical cards per se for 1,000 baht, 2,000 baht.
But Paw Taw 33 is prescription, it's not medical card, right?
The way they did the medical card was the Paw Taw 33. You would have to get
So it's the same thing.
the same thing, yeah. We saw the,
It shouldn't be the same.
again, you have a medical card because you are allowed a prescription. You can't have a medical card unless you get a prescription. How do you get a medical card if you don't have a prescription?
You go to the doctor and they say that
Then they prescribe it to you.
so they give you a card and that card is your...
Yeah. And the problem with the card is it can be copied and sold and make it illegal. Our system allows the store to track. Our system allows us, and by the way, to answer your first question, it's free.
Okay.
Your store will be able on September 1st to download this for free. If a customer comes in, Mima, a quota, beam.
Is it government or is it...
Government, it's Ministry of Health.
Government? Okay.
Ministry of Health. Right? We made sure that this belongs to the Ministry of Health. That's why we had the SME Association donated it. So no corporation can, by the way, anyone can go into the system directly without having to go through anybody. So you can just go ahead and download that. Your store will get a, I mean, my pop it.
น้ำแรก register นะ
You'll get this to be put onto your store.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Back one, Tom.
Okay, this one.
No, ไม่
That's
ใช่
it.
อ๋อ
ไอ้ใบนั้นเลยมีไม่เอาด้วย maybe I'm going to put it. Yeah, but the answer to your question is, you download it, you put it in your store. Guy comes from Germany. He doesn't have a prescription. He loads this on there, right? Now, he does have to make an appointment with the doctor if the doctor is not there immediately for him, okay? But there are doctors who are willing to be on call 24 hours. It's the patient and the doctor who has the transaction. Not the ministry, not you. It's what the doctor's going to charge that patient for that prescription. That's like going to any clinic and getting a prescription. We don't control the doctors. But the answer is to the customer, to you as an SME, you get to use it for free.
Okay, quick, to follow up that question, so let's say I have the same person, German guy came to my shop.
But we're picking on the Germans, aren't we?
They're my number one customer.
Agreed.
Yes, I think it's fair.
Agreed.
They are the number one customers for many people.
They come to my shop, they scan the thing and they wanted to get that prescription, right? And they're sitting there waiting for a doctor.
Can I say, could we get Tom to discuss this with you
I will do it with you privately.
so I can get
You
one
why don't you do this?
questioning, because
Sit with us.
he can fill you in.
They'll
I'm
let,
going to make this the
Beam will
last
show you
question
the
if I
system.
could, please. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the very interesting and lively discussion. Martin from Swiss Public Radio and Television, SRF. I have a very similar question. So about this consultation, telemedicine consultation, do you know, because there must be countless people, right, kind of applying for it, how much time does the doctor have? Like, how does this work? Is there like a checklist, or it's like done in 5 minutes? Or if someone has a serious problem, does this take an hour?
We have the
Like,
video.
what do you expect? And also, like, maybe you could talk about like how many doctors will there have to be, you know, to kind of, yeah.
So we test
Fulfill
ran.
the demand, yeah,
We
thank
test
you.
ran the system. Sadly, I don't know. Did we get the video? We did a test run system 3 weeks ago with Germany, with England. Again, we picked Germany. The system talking to the patient was 10 minutes. The doctor was with the patient for 10 minutes. That's how long it took before the code showed up on his phone. We're hoping through the FCCT, through your help, to tell people who even before they land in Bangkok or Phuket or Chiang Mai, that they download this app first and go ahead and just do it from Germany or do it from Austria. Okay, so we hope that. But if they do come to his store, it's at least a 10 minutes discussion with the doctor. But there's no time limit. The doctor could be at half an hour, but I don't think a doctor is going to talk to you for a half hour. I can't control that.
Sorry, did you have one more question?
If I may ask
Okay,
question.
this is really the last question, but please go ahead.
I would like to ask about data protection in this system. Who will have access to the information in the system? Who will know the list of cannabis users in Thailand? Will the government be able to access that, or will it be only between the doctor and the
All
patient?
data right now, through the rules of the government right now, is stored at the Ministry of Health. The operator of the system has no right. The source code, when this was given to the Ministry of Health, they were very clear. The source code of the system had to go with it. So the source code controller is the Ministry of Health.
And the database?
Everything, yeah. No private company has right to this database.
Just before I wrap up, Kitty, did you want a final word after everything you've heard today? I mean, you were my skeptic, and you are a skeptic, and
Still continuing to be your skeptic. I can't wait for the 2nd of September. I'm all bright-eyed and like...
And Kitty, please, to understand our point of view, we appreciate the skepticism, right? Because as in anything, we're on the same page.
I
So
would say that
keep
if
making
you guys are
recommendations.
small businesses, then must be micro, because I feel like we never really had any of these discussion, but then at the same time, since then and now, I think we did more than 4 or 5 times overnight protesting. But
do you think it helps, the protests?
Oh, the protest makes things goes a little bit quicker. And they finally let us know what they tend to talk about upstairs behind closed doors, eventually.
So the only difference I would recommend to you guys is I never protested. I just solved the problem.
You should try it. It's fun, protesting.
Yelling and screaming at people doesn't result in anything.
I only protest because I don't have the money, unfortunately.
Folks, thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chet. Thank you, Kitty, as well.
Okay, break out the joint.
Last time you spoke here, you left products on the table.
Did I leave it across the table?
You did once.
I did.
I see that the rules have changed.